Donald Trump is showing significant momentum in the latest 2024 election polls, pulling even with Kamala Harris in Virginia, leading in key swing states, and even topping national polls, according to the New York Times. Today, we're going to take a look at how these new developments shape the electoral map. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Starting off by assigning the solid states for each candidate, we can narrow down the race. Kamala Harris is expected to win states like California, Hawaii, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maryland, the District of Columbia, and Maine's 1st District. Meanwhile, Trump is poised to carry Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, the Dakotas, most of Nebraska except for the 2nd District, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, South Carolina, and Alaska. This gives Trump an early lead with 125 electoral votes. The new Virginia poll is a major development. Trump is now tied with Harris at 45 in a survey of 1,000 adults. This is significant because Virginia was carried by Joe Biden by over 10 in 2020, and now Harris isn't even leading in a state that was once seen as reliably blue. Virginia, with its 13 electoral votes, has now become a swing state, just as competitive as places like Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Trump's rise in Virginia could have major implications for the Harris campaign. While a poll of registered voters showed Harris with a 2 lead, that's still within the margin of error and a far cry from the double-digit win Biden had 4 years ago. Trump's ability to surge late in campaigns could also be a factor here. In 2021, Republican Glenn Youngkin won the Virginia governor's race against Democrat Terry McAuliffe, despite McAuliffe leading in the polls for most of the race. Similarly, Trump has a history of polling better in the final stretch of election seasons. If he continues to gain momentum as he has in previous cycles, Virginia could flip to Trump, which would severely damage Harris's chances of winning the presidency. Nationally, a new poll from the New York Times shows Trump leading Harris among 2,400 registered voters. This marks the 8th consecutive poll where Trump is in the lead, and the fact that the New York Times, typically considered a left-leaning pollster, has Trump ahead is notable. Times was one of the most inaccurate pollsters in 2020, largely due to overestimating Biden's support. If Trump wins or even comes close to winning the popular vote, he will likely secure the presidency. Trump could lose the popular vote by a small margin, like 1 to 3 points, and still reach 270 electoral votes. Harris, on the other hand, will need to win the national vote by at least 3 to 5 points to have a solid chance at victory. And right now, she seems far from reaching that goal. Returning to the electoral map, we can now fill in some of the likely states, those that are expected to be won by a margin of 7 to 15 points. Harris is still projected to win Washington and Oregon, but not by the 20-point margins that Biden achieved in 2020. Instead, these states are likely to be decided by a margin closer to 10 to 15 points.